what you see from Temple and the challenges they bring coming?
Very similar probably to Ball State in terms of what they do and how they try to do it. A lot of early down pressures, field and boundary, trying to get you off track, down and distance-wise, trying to create a little havoc off your open edges. So, it's something you always have to prepare for. So that there's some similarity there to a team we played here relatively recently. I think it's a physical group. They play with a physical style. You watch their games. You watch the Maryland game, the Penn State game. You have to be patient. They slug it out. You have to find your shots and find your seams and things on them. But I think it's a good group that plays a lot of pride on defense, and they've been impressive the way they tackle and the way they kind of swing the ball.
Skip mentioned Sunday he was worried with the guard in the hand, but I saw him out there today. Is he all right? Good to go?
Yeah, I think it's just a bruise. It's a contusion. I think he got caught between two helmets or something like that. But as a receiver, if you're a little banged up on your hand, it's a little touchy. But talked to him after practice, and he got 3 treatments yesterday, and actually probably did a little bit more than we thought he was going to do today. I think going into it. So hopefully every day he gets better. And again, it's like I said, it's not a break or anything. It's just a contusion.
BJ is good to go.
Yeah, he practiced today. He went through everything for us, and he'll be. Get better every day, just a little banged up here and there from that game. It was a physical game, obviously, but was in good spirits and did everything fine for us today.
Did you do anything more with Floyd?
No, rotations were the same today. If he'd been limited or something like that, obviously we'd change rotations, but no, everything's the same, and rotation-wise, and he and Bob are still getting the same amount of reps they get every week. And the good thing about those guys, they're attentive and they're good in meetings, and so they're pretty aware of what's going on game plan-wise.
Talk about where the running game has gone the last 2 weeks and what you see in terms of your commitment to it the rest of the way.
Well, yeah, obviously this past week I think, probably surprised a few people about opening drive. The total numbers weren't, earth-shattering, but, against a pretty good defensive front. I think it's been a couple of things. We've helped it with some of the things we've tried to do with angles and blocking schemes and the way we try to attack people. We've used all our weapons, so to speak, our backs, our receivers, our quarterback here and there against Florida State. And I thought our line play was of physical nature that they probably hadn't played with consistently against Florida State. They showed flashes of it, but we kind of challenged them, and to their credit, they did a nice job against a quality opponent which had great depth, and stayed in there and banged with them the entire game.
I was going to try to do something with Derek Hopkins. I want to ask you where you've seen the biggest difference in him from your first 2 years here to what he's showing you guys this fall.
Really, the biggest difference is consistency in catching, which sounds easy for a receiver, but he always practiced hard, runs great routes, obviously has tremendous speed, but was probably a 70% catch guy in practice or spring ball, whatever it may be. This past spring, had a nice spring, came back in the summer. Was one of our highest catch rate guys in camp, and just every day you kind of come back from practice in 2-a-days and we're in Vero, and you're like, well, he's really catching the ball well. And you always hear this cliche when a guy has a great camp, he goes on to have a great year, so to speak. And he's playing really, really well. He's got limitations because of his size, obviously, but I tell you what, he's done a job that, I'll be honest with you, has caught me off guard. Probably the most happy for a guy on this team, it'd be Derek. I really am. I'm just happy as heck for him because he works so hard.
Obviously you guys like him in that third down package, which is a toughness type thing. To have a 5'5" guy that wants to go across the middle, you have to like to see that.
He just got that attitude, and he did a better job this offseason, put on a little weight. He hurt his hamstring, I want to say it wasn't a track. Didn't run as much this spring, and got back in the weight room, put on some weight, put on some muscle, and I think that's helped him in the football end of things, build himself up ready for this fall.
Get back to the running game. Obviously the games dictated where you couldn't sustain that commitment. Is that what you want to do moving forward, to take a little bit more off BJ?
Well, you certainly want to have that in your hip pocket. Like I just mentioned, every game has its own identity. Who you're playing, the opponent you're playing, whatever. But you want to have it, especially in both. You want to take pressure off your pass game, your protection if you can, your quarterback. But also, if you get up on people, you want to be able to finish games out. And that's how you finish them out. Keep the clock running. So it's twofold. That you want to have that as a strong point of your offense. And like I said, when you're able to run the ball, that's why your red zone numbers are good, generally speaking, too. The pro game's tougher and tougher as you get tighter, and that's where you become a really good red zone team.
Where's Marcus Shaw fit into all of this in terms of how he fits physically and plans for him?
Physically, the last week going into the game, the last 2 days, he looked like he was 100%. He got like 6 plays in this past game, and really for the first time, like I said at the end of last week, really looked like he was back to being full speed. Got to get him back on all the kick game teams, obviously, because he was a good kick game play for us. And we've got to get him probably another 15, plays a game in there somehow in our 2 tailback set, whatever it may be, because he and Shaw provide a little bit of spark for us, obviously, with the ability to, break a big play, so to speak. So he's been 100% in the practice level the last 3 or 4 practice days. So I think you'll see more of him as we go.
Not to give anything away, but what do you call the 3-back set you guys used on that goal line when BJ kind of had to boot?
That's the T. T formation. That's something Coach Wilson used at Notre Dame. It's always been, I used it at Colorado State with Coach Bruce. It goes back to Ohio State when Woody Hayes was head coach, to be honest with you. That's how old it was, yeah.
Like in the 20s, probably, right?
Yeah. And it's, like I said, it's funny. We both had it in our backgrounds, and so it's a balanced formation. It's kind of old school, but there's a lot out of it. We've been an up-the-middle team there, and then we had a little boot off of it, and obviously it was good because they had 4 guys in the A-gaps. Good thing they got it. That wouldn't have worked inside, I can promise you. So.
Yes, guys.
Yep.